Good morning, everyone, or good day, depending on where you're joining from, and happy Monday if you're joining live. I am Michelle O'Connor, your business growth strategist, and thank you for coming on to our live today. We've been going for 20, today's our 26th day of our 30-day business growth action plan challenge. And the aim for this is to help you to have your business growth plans already completed for 2026 before you go off for your holidays. Now we've done the thinking, we've done the planning, we've talked about how to monitor. And for this week, I want to bring to you some other things that I want you to think of so your implementation is not hindered. So today we're going to be talking about how you can make smarter health choices. Yes, we often hear that saying and we repeat it sometimes, you can't pour from an empty cup. However, we strategize for our business, but we don't strategize for our health. And I'm not the expert on health, and so I have someone here who is an expert that we're going to be talking to about our healthy choices. So thank you again for coming on. Please go ahead and drop your where you're joining from in the comments, and also your business. And as you go through, if you know of a woman who has a business, who is a CEO, who may call herself an entrepreneur, and you believe that this could help, please go ahead and share. We'll be on answering questions as well. So let's jump into it. So today we have with us Karla Cauldwell, and she's going to be our esteemed guest, sharing all her knowledge and her expertise with us. As I said, I just know it's important, so I needed to get the expert in the room who can help us. So I'm just going to give you a brief history of who she is, a brief introduction, so you know that we have someone who is an expert answering your question. So Karla is a nurse, and with her master's in health innovation, health coach, and communication expert, she works with empowering individuals and communities to prevent and reverse chronic disease through simple, sustainable habits. And I think we like simple and sustainable. You know, persons think of health and they're like, oh, it's another thing I'm adding to my plate. She has over 2 decades of experience in nursing, public health, and health behavior change. And she has created the Live Your Best Life method. I'm excited to hear more about that, which is a practical science based framework that helps people build consistency, reconnect with what matters most, and take confident daily action towards their well being. She's a speaker, author, host of the Live Your Best Life podcast. And, you know, she brings reliable clarity and practical application. We like practical things that we can actually do. We don't have to go out and get it somewhere else. And she's here to inspire us, you know, to help us to learn that healing is not complicated. We just need to take one change at a time. So thank you for coming on, Karla.
I
Yes.
thank you so much. I am so excited to be here. Thank you for that very warm welcome. I am so thrilled to discuss with you and your audience health. It's my absolute, well, one of my very favorite topics, and I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yes, I'm happy about that. I'm happy about that. I wanted persons to, you know, as we've been on this journey of our 30-day business growth challenge, I wanted our CEOs to understand that your health is important, and prioritizing it as a strategy is also part of your business strategy. So if you think about it, you decide that you're going to be prioritizing your health, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon or throughout the day. You'll tell us what the research shows. You're not stacking your mornings with meetings because you know that's the time that you're prioritizing your well-being, you know. And that's how I want persons to think about it and incorporate it into your day. So as we go into the conversation, Karla, I have heard it and I've seen it. Why do you think it's important for women in leadership to be prioritizing their health or their wellness? Let's call it wellness.
Well, wellness and health is everything. And when we don't have it, it's very difficult to be successful in leadership and business. And the challenge is that for a while, we can pour all of our energy into our business, into our leadership roles, and manage. but it's not if, it's when our health will fail, and then who will be there to lead. So I'm excited to hear that your audience has been working on strategic planning. And now we'll just add this extra little component of
Yep.
planning for our health. We'll add it to our strategic planning.
Thanks for that. And I often say to persons, when you're planning your business, you're thinking about what happens if you aren't there today. You're thinking about longevity.
Absolutely. And the bonus is that when you do invest in your health and well-being, research shows, and I've actually conducted my own research in this area, it shows that we improve our efficiency, our productivity, our ability to think in challenging situations. It is really important that we take care of our health and well-being. Our business will grow in relation to the amount of time and quality we spend on our own health.
Sorry about that. I have a a cough came on. Those,
That's okay. That happens.
it just comes on
That,
and it's like you have to get it out, right? All right.
no
So
worries.
one of the things that I've noticed as I work with women, they know it's important. But why do you think that it's a challenge for them to put it as a priority compared to the goals that they have for the business?
This is so normal. When I ask the women I work with, in the last 24 hours, have you done anything that went against your health? Whether it was skipping a meal, overeating, going to bed late, missing out on a workout, and everyone in the room raises their hand. And I understand because I relate to that too. Why are we doing this? Well, I have good news. It's human nature. There's nothing wrong, but there is something we can do about it. So, one of the best ways to begin to have better outcomes with the goals we set with our health is we need to connect it to what matters most to us, to our values, which I think mirrors strategic planning. I mean, as we're planning for our business, we have our vision, our values. It's similar with health. We have to make that connection of what matters most to me, what do I value most, and how will eating better or moving my body or going to bed a little earlier benefit what matters most to me? Because then I'm invested.
I love that because no, you're not thinking about it as just another thing that I need to do, but this thing that I'm doing, moving my body, breathing, all that kind of stuff, it's connected to something deeper than what I'm seeing on the exterior. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and do it. I was listening to, before we came on, Carla and I were talking and I was sharing that I'm listening to a lot of health podcasts. And one of the things that one of the guests said in one of the podcasts was, I'm not working out to be slim, I'm working out to be strong, to ensure that I can move with my kids, to ensure they aren't just, we never know what can happen in life, but as much as we have control over, I am able to stoop, or I'm not going to be breaking a bone at a young age. So when you connect it like that, it does make a difference for you. But I know persons might be listening and thinking, yeah, it's easier said than done, right? What are some practical ways that you think that we can start? We can go, if you started, but let's think about if you're starting, what are some things that you think we can do as CEOs operating businesses?
Well, the first thing and I mentioned it earlier, is definitely understand what matters most to you. And then the next absolute most important step is to collect data from the most important place of all, which is you, ourselves, because we can't manage what we don't measure. So I would recommend just doing, I have a circle of health, I call it, where it takes maybe 2 minutes to look at every aspect of your health: food, movement, um, relationships, spirituality, all of that contributes to our health. And whichever area that we are not doing, we're doing the least well in, I would recommend asking yourself, what is one small thing I can do? So I know I just said a lot, but let me just make it a little simpler. Understand why you want to be well.
Mm-hmm.
Assess yourself. Find out which area most needs your attention. And then pick one small action. One small action you can take to improve just by a little bit. And if you really want to ensure that you succeed at this one small action, make sure that you make it SMART. So specific, measurable, action oriented, realistic, and time sensitive. You are more likely to follow through.
And it's as you shared about collecting that data. I know when we started, we said it's just like strategic planning. It's the very same thing because when you embark on a new initiative for your business, you want a result, a desired result, but you're collecting the data as you go along to see what is working. How do I feel about doing this? What has been the response? So you're saying it's the same thing for our bodies. When we decide that we are embarking on a new wellness journey, you're collecting data to see, how do you feel if you're working out? Do you feel like you want to work? How do you feel if you work out in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evenings? I think that is very important. I again will refer to my readings and my podcast because I'm not a health professional, so I get it from the experts. And they spoke about, even as women, or monthly cycle, which is a monthly cycle. I feel now that we have been, well, I can speak for myself that when you talk about your cycle, you talk about a 1 week period, but it's an entire month. And we get to understand our bodies that at a particular point in the month I may not feel as energized. So what routine am I doing during that time? Those are some of the things. And even if you're joining and thank you so much for coming on. Go ahead and drop your comments in the your questions if you have any in the chat. But even if you are a male and you're joining, you may have women on your team. You can share this with them, let them know that we're discussing this and it's important. So I like that about collecting data. In terms of something practical that persons can get up tomorrow and say, I'm going to start doing and moving my body, what would you recommend for them?
So if we were looking at movement, I would ask, how would you rate your movement throughout the day on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being the worst, I don't move at all, I can't, it's awful, all the way to 10, I'm moving my body all day long, I feel fantastic. And so I would ask what that rating is, and wherever the person's at. So let's say, for example, I just did this for myself yesterday and I'm a 6.5. That's where I'm at right now. So I want to ask myself, what is one small thing I can do this week to get my movement from 6.5 to 7.5? And the reason I'm not going to tell you what to do because you're the expert of you and you know your reality, you
Yeah.
know your life. And a lot of times, if you are trying to do something that you heard someone else recommend, whether it's in a book, a podcast, an article, you're not likely to do it if it's connected to, I call it should-itis. So I want to ask you, what makes sense for you to move yourself 1 point? What is one small thing that's realistic and doable? So when I asked myself that yesterday, I realized that I'm missing an opportunity to walk in between my meetings
Mm.
because I have a little gap. And sometimes I like to believe I don't have time, but I could take 5 minutes, twice a day in between a few of my meetings to step outside my office and just walk outside. even if it's just around the building. So that was the goal I set for myself. Your goal is going to be different.
Right. And I think it's important that we think about it as you owning and setting your goals, because one of the things that I've noticed, when we're always consuming the way how others are doing it, it may just not fit into your lifestyle. It may not fit into what your daily routine looks like, and then you end up not doing it, not because you don't want to, but you took another strategy that was just not meant for you, unless you probably work with an expert like Karla and she helped you to figure out what a plan would look like based on your lifestyle. um so two 5-minute walks, that's 10 minutes. That's probably like the time persons take to warm up in the mornings on the gym or whenever they go on the treadmill. But it sounds doable. So that we're addressing some of the concerns and maybe the blocks that persons have in their minds, a lot of women know that they need to do this. So why do you think we have kind of normalized exhaustion around business and not really prioritized or health habits or wellness habits?
We live in a culture that gives awards for the person running the fastest from task to task, wearing themselves out. And unfortunately, that's still very popular. I see it every day where, oh my gosh, you're a superstar, superwoman for doing X, Y, and Z
Right.
and taking. I think it takes bravery, confidence, and willpower to
Yeah.
remove yourself from a system that just doesn't work. The science doesn't back burning yourself out. Science backs investing in your health. You're more productive. It's very hard to accept. What I know to be true is that when someone starts small, they then see the results. So the women I work with, when we can finally get past this romantic notion of, no, I have to work out for an hour. And I'm like, okay, but it hasn't worked. So what's one small thing? And when they finally accept, okay, my one small thing is going to be to do 10 squats in between each. I work with a lot of healthcare providers. So in between each patient I see, that was a goal one of my doctors set last week. I'm going to do 10 squats. Great. That's fantastic. So after a week of doing 10 squats and asking her, what difference did that make for you? She's then able to see, I had more energy. I was more patient. I feel stronger. So we have to collect those positive outcomes and positive experiences so we can extract ourselves from the busy culture, the superwoman culture.
Yeah. And there are two things that I wanted to add to that. If it is that, well, we talk about habit stacking. You decide that you're taking on this small goal for this week, doing it over a period of time, it now becomes the norm. I may not know the scientific approach, I mean, explanation for it, but it's similar. If I'm driving home and my mind wanders, there are times I end up when I'm like, oh my God, like, how did I end up here? Like, I wasn't consciously thinking about it, but because it's something I've done over time for such a long period of time, it just feels normal. And I think it's important if we're able to make that one, let's not call it it may be small compared to what somebody else is doing, but you're making a change for your lifestyle, and you stack it, and then next week, if you have time, you may add something else to it. So I really like that analogy, and I hope that persons who join are able to see it as well.
I um I would venture to say that when we ask someone who has it very together, let's say that there's someone you admire that is exercising the way you wish you could, eating the way you wish you could. I am 99.9% sure if you ask her, were you born this way? Did you just always do it this way? I've never heard someone say yes. I have heard, no, it took years. And I started here and I did a little bit more and I did a little bit more and I did a little bit more until I got to this place. I think I could even ask you something you achieved this year. Did it just happen or did you put some work into it? Was it some
Years.
Exactly, exactly. So we have to step back and look at things honestly. And I love talking to people. I'm constantly asking women who are successful with their health and managing a family and a business, or they're leaders in healthcare, how did you do this? And the answer is always the same. It took time, it took practice, I haven't found the easy way yet
Yeah.
or the magic pill.
Yeah, I think it's similar to when I say to persons, when you're listening to someone who is sharing, say, I'm on the business strategy side of things, do this and your business will grow. Do, what I do, I throw up my TV, or, they're giving you these ideas. I often remind persons that they are coming to you as a point in their life where they have developed and grown over time. And sometimes the experiences that they have had, you've not had it. So you could take the same actions that they are taking and not generate the results, because it takes more than that. So as we talk about wellness habits, I share with Karla that I am a morning person, and so I work out in the morning. I have been going to the gym, waking up at between 5 and 5:30 for the gym for years, maybe 20 years, right? And I've tried going to the gym in the evenings and it just did not work for me. My body slows down and I honor it. I wake up early and
Mhm.
I continue going, but I've been doing it for years. So a person will be like, "Oh, you're so disciplined. I want to be like you." No, if it is that that's what you want to do, as Karla is sharing, it takes time. You implement one thing, you see how your body reacts to it, and then you see if you want to make a change. So I'm all for collecting that data and seeing how your body reacts and how you feel. And as I said that, Karla, something else came to me that I want to ask you about. Persons always say, "Oh, work out in the morning and you'll be energized," but when I work out, I'm tired. How would you respond to persons who feel that way?
I would be curious, do you like what you're doing? What makes you feel good? What activities energize you when you move? Because if I'm honest with you, Michelle, I wanted to be like you. I wanted to be that morning gym person, and I fought against myself for a long time. And when I finally accepted, I don't like the gym, I don't like weights, but I love walking. I like mobility exercises
Yeah,
where I use my own body for
yeah,
strength. I find it really exciting to do things like power yoga, power tai chi. That's what I love to dance, right? Do you see how I change? Like it's this, and so it's so important to if the person is not energized. So if you're talking to a woman and she's trying to be like you, going to the gym, and she doesn't feel great, she feels exhausted, well, what do you like to do? Because it
yeah,
sounds like your body doesn't like this. And accepting that. I mean, everyone's unique, everyone's a little different. We all need movement. That's the same. We all
yeah.
need movement.
We all need movement. And as we talk about movement, in you, based on your experience, well, we have this saying that we may use to say, if you don't use it, you lose it. How do
Absolutely.
you see a lack of movement impacting our bodies if we're not, constantly doing something with it, apart from sitting on a chair and working in front of our computers?
I see it affect I work with disease prevention. So I'm working with people who have either over 80% of disease is preventable and completely preventable. I would actually venture to say more than that, but We'll stick with 80% because that's what the research is showing. Although Cleveland Clinic just released that 90% of heart disease is preventable. So that's exciting. I'm sorry, getting back to
Yeah.
answering your question. When I am working with people who have diabetes, which is very serious, they're having to take insulin. And when I have others who are on hypertensive medications and they start moving their body, let's say that's the only intervention because they don't want to work on food yet.
Yeah.
I have seen people lower their blood pressure by 10 points, which is extremely significant. I've seen weight loss. I have seen people lower their medications and even get off insulin
Wow.
from exercising daily. Because once you start to exercise, you improve your circulation, you feel better mentally. And then I love this. Even though you didn't want to eat better, you naturally start to eat better because you feel better mentally.
Yeah.
So you're not eating to fill a void or to take care of your emotions.
Yeah.
So I think movement, I actually start with that intervention first. I mean, sleep's important, food's important, stress management's important, but if we can get you moving, you'll start to tackle those other areas.
I think it's so important that we understand the connection between our emotions and what we choose to eat,
Yeah.
and maybe how we've been wired to think. The minute I feel overwhelmed or stressed, I'm grabbing something sweet. Why is that? And sometimes I catch myself, but I think it's good when you share that. We've been made to believe that there are just some foods that we need to keep us energized. I remember one month in January, I normally do a I changed my eating habits and put it that way, for a month. And I remember this particular month, I wasn't having any processed food, and I would on a Saturday morning have a group of friends that when we're in Jamaica, we go in the mountains and we walk or we jog, our Saturday morning thing, and watch the sunrise. And I remember this particular morning, I was saying, "Oh, guys, I won't be able to run because I've only been on vegetables and, beans and stuff." Carla, I was so energized.
I knew it. I knew it was coming. You ran up that hill,
Oh
didn't
my
you?
God, I could not believe it. I was so energized, and I was sweating, detox. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. So sometimes, because that's not attractive on television or on social media. So now things are changing a bit, but it's important that we understand the or how our emotions drive what we eat. And I'm sure there's a scientific thing about things that are released in our bodies. I don't know, but I hope the persons who are joining are getting that. And I see persons joining from Saudi Arabia. Thank you so much for coming on. Guys, if you have any questions, please go ahead, and we have the expert in the room. If
Oh,
you come
oh
back on
goodness.
tomorrow, I'm not the expert, but I'll share her link so you can connect with her. So you did share, Carla, that you work with mostly healthcare leaders. And I
Yes.
want to ask you, how have you seen a shift in their leadership when they start focusing on their wellness more, or wellness habits?
Oh, yes. Well, there's less periods of getting sick. So that's a big deal because once you get sick, that takes time off. And even if it doesn't take time off, you're only operating subpar if you
Yeah,
are trying to work through illness. More energy, more positivity. It carries out in better communication, more efficient, and so many positives from investing in health occur.
yeah,
I'm actually starting to look at the effect of, because many of the health leaders I work with still see patients, and you can even see an effect on their patients. Their patients start doing better, which I think is really, really exciting. Because one of the most powerful ways to influence someone is through role modeling, not through
yeah,
telling. So that's a little extra, but I find that very, very exciting. And I see that not just in helping patients improve. But once you start to improve your health, I'm sure you've seen this, everyone around you starts to change. Not because you tell them, but we are heavily influenced by who we spend time with. So I hope that answers your question. I do I do want to share that going back to the emotional eating, I want to definitely normalize it. I lead a lot of health groups, and in my groups, usually there's about 90 to 100 people. And when I ask them, how many of you eat based on emotion, not hunger? Do you ever experience eating based on emotion? 9 out of 10 people will raise their hand. So this is definitely a big issue. And when you go back to movement, moving your body reduces those incidents of eating for your emotions. It just all goes hand
Yeah.
in hand.
And I think that when you think about um we can that probably is a whole nother conversation. When you think about what you're craving, I think Tony Robbins would say we're primed or we're wired to think that if I'm hungry, I need a Snicker bar, or if I'm stressed, I need this thing. One of the things I started practicing was whether I feel overwhelmed from a conversation, or there's this meeting that just really put me in a bad place, instead of choosing to eat, I go for a walk. Or I stand at the staircase and I do some calf raises. So, it's just good. We can cover so much in a short 30-minute conversation. But I think one of the things that I want you to get from what Karla has shared, or what resonated with me, is how are we being aware? How are we collecting the data, seeing what is working for me, and learning to coach myself? Yeah,
And
it's
trust
yeah,
yourself. You are the expert of you. Because even if you're not aware of which foods are the best, when I ask you which foods energize you, I find that people know, and not just for an hour, because I know that some people will share with me, well, I drink a soda at 3 because I'm starting to fall asleep. But then I ask them what happens 3 hours later, and
yeah.
usually there's a crash. So that self-assessment piece works for every area, and learning to trust yourself and listen to what you need and connecting it to what matters most and making it a small actionable item that's realistic. Doing that every day, you'll be a whole different person next year.
I love that. And I think when I remember some of the stuff that you've shared, and you talk a lot about, I think there's a lot that you share about introspection. That's how I would put it. And I
Yes.
love that because it allows us to remove ourselves from the noise around us and what we're being told that's best for us. And as you just shared, connecting with you and seeing what is it that you would need. And it's almost the same thing as you shared with your business. When you're developing your strategies for your business, you're thinking about your vision, you're thinking about your mission, and you're connecting the activities that you're doing towards that vision and that mission, which I think works together. And I'm sharing that because of what you just said. When you ask persons what energizes them, I'm sure they're going to tell you something that they really love and not what was told. But
Yes.
it's a hard balance. Like, how am I going to be hanging out with everybody and they're having this and I'm not having it, or I'm going to be the odd one out. So I think that's very important for persons to remember as you're prioritizing your health. And as I said when we started, guys, you may have the best strategy, but we want you to be well as well. And as Carla shared,
Absolutely.
your team they can see, they can feel it. We're not having these meetings and all we have are stuff that's gonna send us into high energy after lunch and then drop us to sleep by an hour or two after. But so I know, Carla, that you also your work is wide, and there's so much we can cover in this time. But is there anything that you want to share with our women CEOs before we close?
I just want to honor that everyone listening is unique. Your work is important, and you are an important part of that work. I really hope if you take nothing else from this time that we had together, may it be to connect to what matters most to you, listen to your health needs, and trust that one small thing done daily will support you to change in a really big way. I That's what I would want to leave with the women you work with.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that. And I'm going to be, you have a book. You're able to tell us a little bit about that. I'm going to be dropping the link in the comments.
Thank you. Yes, I have two, and the one I would recommend starting with is Live Your Best Life, the 5 critical life choices for living your best life. And living your best life is one that is healthy, full of joy, full of purpose, and that in turn helps you to prevent most disease and reverse it if you're currently experiencing disease. It's a very practical, very simple book, and it's all about small actions taken consistently to create big change.
Amazing. And the link is in the comments. Please go ahead and look and get your copy. I know we say, when we're well, there are so many things that we want. So you have all these goals for your business that you want to achieve. And then when you're not well, you have one goal, and that is to get better. And if we're able to prevent 80% of the diseases, why wouldn't we? By simply moving our bodies, taking some time, work on your schedule. And if you would like to get in touch with Karla, you can do so. Karla, you can feel free to share that as well, so that you can create that wellness habit that fits your schedule. What works for me? What will help me to show up better? Because I'm really about us taking charge of our wellness beings, finding the time to do the things that can make us better. I attended a conference last year. One of the doctors said the things that we can do to make our lives better, they're free. One,
Absolutely. Yeah.
breathing, spending some time. We don't breathe properly. Can you imagine that? It's something that we do once we're alive, and we don't do it properly. So I got a whole 30-minute session about breathing and how to breathe properly, and how it just enhances the function of your brain. There's just a lot of things that we can get to know about our bodies, and it's important that we take the time. So I really do hope that you took away one thing from this conversation today that you can implement in your daily routine. And if you'd love to get in touch with Karla, tell us what's the best way and the easiest way for us to get in touch with you.
Well, for those of you on LinkedIn, make sure you connect. I have a health newsletter where I share science-backed tools each week. And for people on other platforms, karlacauldwell.com. You can connect with me in various ways. I'm on all social media platforms, and I have an active newsletter for the community. So karlacauldwell.com.
Thank you so much, Karla. This has been amazing. We could sit and talk for a very long time because it's such a wide topic. But
It is.
how do we get those gems in for person? So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
And thank you guys for coming on. Thank you to our CEOs, our founders for coming on. As you know, we're going for 30 days. Today's day 26. And I wanted to drop in the midst of this strategic planning a reminder that you are important. And I know a lot of the strategies we get about go, go, go. And we're making our schedules, and we're always at it, and we're answering the email, and booked and busy is the new norm. But I wanted to remind you to take some time to take care of you, work through a schedule that works. I've dropped Karla's information in the comments. Please go ahead and connect with her on LinkedIn. Go ahead and purchase the book, visit her website, book your session if you are struggling with prioritizing your health. The same way you would have hired someone to do something for your business, I want to encourage you to do that for your health as well. And this week is our final week. We have 4 more days to go. Tomorrow, we're going to be talking about how to develop an AI strategy for your business. A lot of the things that cause us overwhelm is because of a lack of planning. Same thing for your health, same thing for your business. We are bombarded every day with something new in AI. And if we don't have a plan for a business, we don't know which one we need to pay attention to. So I'm going to be sharing with you a framework that you can use to develop your own AI strategy so you know what you need to go and look for. You're proactive. Again, thank you for coming on. I am Michelle O'Connor, and I'm your business growth strategist. If at any point in time you would like to have a conversation with me, as usual, my calendar is in the comments. Go ahead and schedule your time, and I look forward to connecting with you. Have a great day.